Hey everybody, this is Toby Eunice with a Gypsy Kiss, and today I have a special interview for you that I'm not counting amongst our series in It's All About You. This is a special interview with a special lady. Her name is Jamie Jourdan. She's known as jjdiggins in the forums, and as most of you know by now, Jamie and her family experienced what I would call a transformational event in her life. And I'm very grateful, and I know Jimmy is very grateful for the manner in which the community has responded. But I wanted to get this part of Jamie's story out there. I have promised Jamie that once things settle down for her, that we'll try this again, and we will do an "It's All About You" interview, where we talk about her and how she's approached the search for Fenn's treasure. But today it's just about Jamie and her life. So, hi Jamie, how are you doing?
I'm doing well, Toby. Thank you for having me.
I'm glad that we could. So let's talk the storyline here. First of all, tell me about Jamie Diggins. Give me the backstory and tell me a little bit about how you got to where you are.
Okay, well, how much time do you have?
We we have as
Just kidding.
we have as much time as you want to take.
I'll be brief. Well, basically, I've lived in 4 different states in my life. I was born in San Jose. I've lived in Colorado, Maryland, Arizona, and California, of course. I've done several different jobs in my lifetime. I left school in 10th grade and graduated. I took my GED and went to college and worked 2 jobs at the same time. I originally was going to be a police officer because my father was one, but then I got pregnant, so we had to change that. Became a mother for a while, and then I went into marketing. I worked at a newspaper, and then I decided to go back to school and took some marketing, journalism, mass communications classes.
Mhm.
And after that, I started in radio. And when I lived in San Jose before that. This was in 2004. I came back to Lake County because my mother had just passed away from cancer. After that, I met Bill about 2 weeks after my mother passed away, and Bill and I hit it off instantly. It was basically love at first sight. We sold his home, and we bought a piece of property up in the forest, and we moved up there in a tent. And I and my husband lived in a tent while we built a home together. And basically, he started it with a chainsaw because we were still waiting for our money from the house, the sale of the house. So we literally started building with the trees that we had there.
Hmm.
And over 15 years, we have built a life and home there. And you know, I've lived without real electricity. We've used a generator, so I didn't have light switches, no toaster, no microwave, no coffee pot. Basically, just bare essentials. And I've loved it. I've absolutely loved it.
Well, it is a wonderful life, and I know that there are lots of people, especially among the search community, who feel like that's something they'd like to experience. Did I hear you say you were born in Santa Fe?
San Jose, California, yes.
Oh, Santa Fe, California. I thought we had.
San Jose.
Oh, San Jose. I'm sorry, San Jose, California. I thought you said
I'm sorry.
Santa Fe, and I thought we had something in common in being born in Santa Fe. So tell me, I know that the fire, the Mendocino, California fire, had started earlier, but on what day did you realize that it was going to impact you in a way that perhaps you had not expected?
Well, it did start on the 27th, and from that point forward, we knew it was growing because we heard over the scanner. We listened to the scanner for our reports. As I said, we didn't have normal communication. So over the scanner, we heard that it was growing because the lack of air support due to all the fires in California, it was getting out of control. So our phones were just literally doing emergency alerts repeatedly for the 2 days prior to us getting evacuated. So we kind of knew that we should be getting ready. We packed up our important paperwork, our clothing, and things that we knew that we could not do without, like our parents' pictures, etc. And we made sure that we were ready for that evacuation should it come. Now, of course, we couldn't evacuate everything because We lived 5 miles up a dirt road, so it would have been impossible to have gotten everything that we have off that mountain. So we decided to take what we needed to take for an emergency evacuation and not be in the way of the firefighters.
Uh-huh.
Um, and we loaded up our truck bed, our trailer, and we got the evacuation notice on Sunday, I believe it was, the 29th. And we could see the plume of smoke on the next ridge over. It had already traveled about, maybe 10 miles, and it was about 5 miles from our home. And in my heart, I didn't think it was going to come. I didn't think it was going to get my home.
Uh-huh.
I honestly didn't. We had a good fire break. We've been working diligently the past few years to make sure that we had that fire break that's needed to defend a home. So I literally didn't feel like I had to say goodbye to my home. I grabbed my dog, got my dog in, and I grabbed one of the cats, and I put him in there with me, and he scratched the heck out of me and ran off, so that didn't work. And then I saw the other one running off, and I'm thinking maybe that they knew, they needed to go somewhere. I just couldn't get them. But they're forest kitties, so, I'm pretty sure that in my heart, I'm hoping they're okay.
Uh-huh.
So we loaded up. We have a driveway that goes up to another level where we had already loaded the camper with some supplies. We noticed that the camper was leaking oil. So my husband decided, we got to try and save this camper too, in case we need a place to live. Well, I drove the truck and trailer, and he followed me in the camper. We had to stop a few times on the way down because it kept leaking oil, and ultimately we had to just leave it because it lost all oil pressure. So we took everything out of there, put it in the truck and trailer, and came down the mountain. And when we got down the mountain, the National Guard was there at the bottom of the mountain at the entrance to the road. And they had their guns and everything, and the CHP was there, and there was no traffic on the roadways, only us getting out because everybody had already been evacuated. It took us that long to get down.
Uh-huh.
And, they just let us go by, and it was really surreal. It was really, really a crazy, crazy time.
Yeah, it sounds like the kind of thing most people will never get the opportunity to experience. But when you do, it really is a new and different experience. So ultimately, were you able to save the RV?
It's still on the mountain. I'm not sure if it burned or not because we weren't able to go that way when we went back and took pictures. So it's that I don't know about.
So now you're off the mountain. You basically don't know the status of your home. Tell me about that period between being off the mountain and the time you got back to your property.
Well, we evacuated to my husband's brother's house, who is 4 hours away from our home, our county. And, the smoke was just terrible there, and the shelters were completely packed full. So since we had an opportunity to come to a family member's, we did that. And I thought that I'd have a better signal where we came to, but the signal was actually kind of worse than at home. So, of course, I watched Facebook. I have local Facebook where we have Scanner News, etc., and they actually did live feeds. And our sheriff of Lake County, Brian Martin, he's a wonderful, wonderful sheriff and excellent enforcement individual. He did an update every day, and I was sure to try and watch those updates. And as I'm doing the videos, they're spinning and trying to load, and it was the most patience I had, even though you would think I wouldn't have that kind of patience. I just had to see what was going on, and not knowing from the 29th to August 3rd, I didn't even know on that date. It burned on August 3rd, and I saw the videos that were posted of my mountain on fire, and I knew it was gone, but I didn't know until we got the official notification a few days later.
Mm-hmm.
So it was kind of just, I was focused on trying to figure out what was going on.
So when and how did you find out that this campaign to help you and your family had started?
Oh my goodness, K-Pro. K-Pro told me, I guess what I had done is I tried to go online to get my mind off the fire. And Follow Me Down had said I was on Hint of Riches. And Follow Me Down had said, jjdiggins, long time no see. And I said, well, I was a little preoccupied. I was just trying to get my head back in the game. And I had mentioned that I already knew my business was gone and that my home was potentially gone as well. Well, Kate contacted me immediately, Christy. She's fantastic, wonderful human being, great heart. And she said that she was already in the works trying to get something together with Forrest, and that Forrest was in agreement that they wanted to help. And then before I knew it, this thing exploded into this giant fundraiser for me, and it's just amazing. It's amazing.
Well, and when you told that to your husband, how did you guys feel?
Well, what's funny about it is the 4.5 years that I've been doing this treasure hunt, I've been blogging. And because, like I said, we were in a forest, I used my phone. So there was a lot of hours that if I wasn't working on the book and the poem aside, I was on the phone blogging, just talking with people, being a part of the community, learning, reading. And it caused a little friction between us because my husband, he calls it twisting up the bird, like tweeting. He calls that twisting up the bird. So he always thought I was twisting up the bird. And, he didn't really like me on the phone too much and felt like I ignored him, but I tried to make up for that. And when I told him about this, I told him, I guess actually my time on the blog is just going to pay off a little bit. And he's like, well, I guess so. And he's just extremely grateful and thankful. And he's on board with me now.
Yeah. Made a lot of friends, huh?
Oh yeah. He's gone to a couple Fenn with me, so he knows a lot of the folks as well.
So you're down off the mountain. You're informed not only that the mountain is burning, but there's a very good chance that you had lost your property. And then, of course, you went up. I posted the photos that you shared with me, as well as the video. Tell us a little bit about what it felt like to drive back up that road and arrive at the location that seemed to me to look like a war zone. How did that make you feel?
It's really crazy because, like I said, we live 5 miles up, and you can see from the highway down in town, you can see the mountain was half burned. And the usual identifiers to see where our home was weren't there anymore. There's this place that we called the Y, and there was a couple fields you could have seen before so you could identify, but everything was unidentifiable. So we went up the road, and as we're going up the road, there was still fire trucks and water tenders and fire personnel, and we passed all those. And we had thought it was on advisory evacuation. We found out on our way back down that it wasn't, and I'll tell you that in a minute. But when driving up there, we were just, wow, our forest it's all sticks, and you see it on TV, and you see other people going through it, and you feel so bad for them. But then when you're experiencing it, it's like it's still on TV. It's like, how can this really be? We never thought that our home, this would happen to it. It sounds silly and stupid being in a forest, but you just don't think it'll happen to you, and then it does. And going up there, it was surreal. You could see all the way through the trees. You could see everybody's property that used to be there. It wasn't just my home that burned. It was several of the people who I call my neighbors, but we had 10 acres, so they weren't too close. And when we got up there to our gate, usually you open the gate and you drive into our road, and you can't see anything. You just see the road, and you go down the road about 1/10 of a mile, and then we have a driveway going down. But I could see all the way across the ridges, just it up and down and around, and nothing green. It was very surreal, is all I can say.
And so you're driving up the road, and you come to the point at which you can see your property ahead of you. Tell me about that.
Well, I guess you kind of get a fun feeling in your stomach. It looks like the fire personnel did a dozer line right outside of our gate to try and prevent it going beyond our property. It could be that they started a back burn from there to my property to save the town, because the fire was heading down into town.
Mm-hmm.
It was at night that it happened at my property, so I don't really know what the occurrence was there. But we drove inside, and first thing you could see is that we had 10,000 gallons of water or better in 3 different tanks. The plastic tanks were melted, gone, and the steel tank was still there. They hadn't even found the water, which they knew about because I had called and let them know that I had the water.
Mm-hmm.
So we saw that, and you just see melted metal all over the place. The aluminum from the hubcaps off the tires. My daughter's truck was burnt. My husband's, one of his collection trucks was burnt. The camper, we had a trailer there with storage, that was burnt. It was just obvious that it was a very, very hot fire. So we didn't want to drive in because there were trees falling everywhere. We didn't want to ruin the one vehicle we had left. So we parked it, and we put on our masks, and we walked down the road, and both of us kind of just separated and just started taking pictures. And I know my husband was crying. To be honest, Toby, I haven't shed any tears yet, because other than tears of joy when Christy told me what everybody was doing for me, I haven't shed tears for my home or property yet. I don't know why. Perhaps I'm just still in shock. But we walked around and took pictures, and it's just crazy to think that all of that it's up and it's just gone. It just ate it. The fire just ate it all.
One of the things that I know people who experience these kinds of events is the big question about returning to the property, and in the pictures that I saw, it was obvious that you and Bill had moved up there because of the surrounding beauty, the natural beauty that you find in our national forests. None of that exists now. How do you feel about going back there and starting over, or is it even worthwhile? Where are you and Bill in that conversation?
Well, we've gone back and forth with the conversation. Going up there at first, we both said, no way, we don't want to be here anymore. It's just, it'll never be the same.
Mm-hmm.
And all of that. And when we were taking the pictures, we thought, gosh, we just don't want to be there. But since we've left after taking the pictures, we've talked about it, and we love our home up there, and things will grow back. And, we even talked about maybe cutting down the burnt up trees and making a log cabin out of those or
mm-hmm.
something. I don't think you could ever get us away from that property because we love it so much. It's going to take a long time to grow back. We won't ever have the same life we did, but we have something to look forward to in that we can make a different home. We can make a different layout of the property. We can make it a lot safer from a future forest fire.
Mm-hmm.
There are things to look forward to. Another thought that we had is we've been wanting to move back to Colorado because I grew up there. A lot of my early years was in Colorado, and we love it there. And that was another thing that we had thought about. Maybe this was our turning point to move to Colorado,
mm-hmm.
considering that my work will change and everything like that. So those things are still up in the air, and I've only been up there once, so I don't know how long it'll be. We're still on mandatory evacuation. They won't let us back up there. We almost got arrested on the way down
mm-hmm.
because we weren't supposed to be there. So at this point, we don't know how soon we can start our future, but we're making steps now to move forward.
So the property that you had in the forest, on the Forest Service lands, was that leased or owned?
We owned it. We purchased, when we sold his home, when I met him, we purchased 10 acres.
This is off the cuff and not relevant at this point, but maybe it might be worth having a conversation with Forrest's grandson, Shiloh, because his family experienced a forest fire in the Pecos very near their property, and they were able to leverage that by cutting the burned trees and processing them and generating income from them that helped them to recover as well. Not that their house burned in the process. So maybe it's worth a conversation with them to figure out what they did to create an income stream from what was not quite the disaster that you're experiencing, but certainly a disaster. That area of Pecos burned pretty well. So,
absolutely, yes. I the old wood, the flooring.
Yeah.
That's how the conversation of the building the log cabin with the burnt logs came up. You know, the inside of the wood is still okay.
Right.
The whole tree, if the whole tree didn't burn, the inside of the wood is still okay. So, if nothing else, we could make firewood and sell that. We could make our own timbers. We could just get another sawmill, build some more lumber. There's a lot of different options, but absolutely talking with Shiloh would be a great thing to do.
And then, of course, you're also clearing the forest around your property so that you can avoid a similar situation in the future after replanting takes place. So,
absolutely,
it's worth a conversation, I'm sure.
Yes.
So,
I agree.
What's in the future? What are the plans?
Well, fortunately, my business partner has a couple of homes that she had rented out. Well, recently somebody moved out of one, as a matter of fact, at the end of July. So when I went to go view the property, I spoke with my business partner. She's a wonderful, wonderful lady. And she told me that she wanted me to move into the home that was just left unrented and fix it up, and I could stay there for 3 months free while we fix it up. So we just learned that yesterday, and that is our first 3 months of future. Within that 3 months, we'll be able to, I'm sure the evacuation will be lifted. We should be able to go up and figure out what we're going to be able to do. We're going to see if FEMA has any assistance available for Rock County, because it's not available yet. And we're going to move forward with, our business. We're going to regrow that, and fortunately, I have a lot of friends, and I have the Chase that's going to help me with the next steps, because I was really, really scared about what was going to happen. I thought, I'm going to lose my truck now because it's the only thing I made off the property with, but I have payments every month on that, plus insurance, and et cetera, et cetera. So now I'm not as concerned about all that, because I do have money to eat now. I will have money to eat now. I'll have money to take care of myself while I regroup and move forward. And I'm just extremely, extremely grateful.
So forgive me for not having asked this question in the past, but what business is it that you and your partner have?
Well, we had a farm, and we had a variety of herbs and plants, and my partner, she is South Korean. Her husband is a physician, and she is an LVN, and she does a lot of, she makes oils and creams, pain relievers. She's into the holistic and alternative medicine relief for people. She has family in Korea. She does a lot of that for them. So she's brought her knowledge of these ancient methods and my knowledge of farming, because that's what I've been doing on the side for 10 years. So we started that, and of course you can always regrow things. That's the good thing about having a farm. You can regrow things. So we're able to do that and start over. Of course, it'll take a little time, but thankfully her knowledge is there, and that's important. So we just have to move forward with that. We had just gotten done with the food and agriculture. They give you certain regulations and licensing that you have to go through, state regulations and fish and game regulations. Fortunately, all of that is still in place. I've already talked to the county, and we are okay once we get the cleanup from the fires, which we're not sure when that is going to be able to go forward, because we're both, her property and my property, are still under mandatory evacuation because there's so much fire activity. So once all that's taken care of, we'll be able to go and clean up and then move forward with that. We're looking at about 6 months or so before we can start the business back up again, but at least we have the future, and in the meantime, she's got her husband has the physician's practice, so she's not without income, and fortunately she's giving us something to do in the meantime as well by remodeling her home, which my husband is skilled in everything as far as that goes. So fortunate we have something to do to keep us busy.
So was the business also burned in the fire?
Yes,
Okay.
it was at her home. That was our, basically you could say, corporate headquarters, because that was where we made all the products and everything.
Well, I know our audience will be happy to hear that you've gotten through this in not only good physical shape, but good mental shape, and perhaps even good spiritual shape. It sounds like you and Bill and your business partner have a plan for the future, and I'm of course hoping that with the campaign that Christy started, Fenn supported, a lot of donors had contributed to, and even more, a lot of donations have been made. I think of as of yesterday, there was $13,600 plus in the account, and I'm sure there's more by today. And we have, ladies and gentlemen, until August 31st to complete this campaign. And as you know, the drawing will be held on September 6th. And the last thing is, Jamie asked me to give her just a moment so that she could say thank you to everyone for everything they've done. So, Jamie, the mic is yours.
Yes, absolutely. To my Chase family, friends, people that know me, that don't know me, I've been receiving wonderful messages. I take it all to heart, and it is, perhaps maybe that's why I haven't been able to cry, because I've felt so much love and support from all of you, even people I don't know. And it leaves me almost speechless. But I did talk to my sister-in-law, and I said, there's got to be a way I can thank everybody for what they've done for me to help me feel so strong during this time. And she said, well, you know what they do, because she's religious. So she said, go to the church and light a candle for each person. I said, well, there's over 200 so far now. And she said, well, use like 10 persons' names for each candle, or get a list and say all their names for one candle.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, well, that's definitely a great thing to do. I can get that list from Mike, and I can bless all those people with a candle. But other than that, I can say that your help, everybody, Christy, you, Toby, Sean, and Cowazers, and Forrest. Oh my gosh, Forrest donating the first edition TTOC. I wish I was a donation person so I could get it. But but at any rate, all these things everybody's doing for me, it lifts my spirit. It helps me to be stronger. It helps me to move forward. It's going to help me to rebuild my life. And I never thought I'd be in a situation like this. I don't like to ask people for help. I don't even like to accept help, but I have to graciously accept this because I need it. Otherwise, I'd be a wreck, I guess. And, I've found a treasure in all of my Chase friends and family. That's basically the gist of it. All of you, you're wonderful. You are a treasure to me. And I will never forget your kindness and support.
Well, ideally, the fact that this has raised your spirits will raise all of ours as well. So if
That's
you
great.
want
I hope
to
so.
help Jamie and her family, I have set up a Google document. It's up to 5 pages with information not only on how to donate to the campaign, but there's also links that will direct you to the YouTube video on which we placed the recordings that Jamie made when she was at her property, and also a link to our blog where I uploaded the photos that Jamie sent me if you want to take a look at that. It's devastating, and you can only imagine what she's going through, and you can only hope that this period in her life, transformational as it is, will be short-lived, and Jamie and her family can move on with your help. And I think that's important, with your help. Jamie, thank you very much. I know it's very busy for you, and I know there's the additional distraction of not being in your home, but I wanted to thank you for taking the time to do this interview. I'm happy that I could accommodate it, and I'm glad that we finally figured out a way to make it happen. So thank you very much. Please give my regards to your husband and to your business partner. We look forward to seeing them sometime in the future.
Absolutely. Toby, thank you for having me, and thank you for all the work that you've done to try and make this happen. I appreciate it. I appreciate everybody in my Chase family.
It's our pleasure. You have a wonderful day. This is Toby Eunice.
Thank you.
You're welcome. This is Toby Eunice for A Gypsy's Kiss. Thanks for joining us today.